Camino food. It's a very serious topic, and that's what we're going to be talking about this week. And I'm going to give you some examples. We're going to look at food. Unfortunately, we can't taste it. We're going to look at food, and I'll give you some tips on what sort of food is available, sort of things that you could ask for. Yeah, let's get right into it. Food coming up. So this week we are talking about Camino food, one of my favourite topics. I think I'm one of the few people that can walk 800 kilometres and come back heavier than when they started. Okay, now a couple of caveats before we start looking at the sort of food. Now, this video is going to be particularly of interest if you have never walked a Camino before. And I should add, we are talking about Caminos in Spain. We're going to look at the food available in the Spain part of the Caminos. So I'm not looking at food on the Le Puy route in France or anything like that. I should also say that all of the examples of food that I'm talking about are from my 3 walks along the Camino Frances only. So bear in mind, the Camino Frances of all of the Spanish Caminos has the best infrastructure, so there's lots of food options. On some of the more remote Caminos, touch wood, the next one I'm going to try is the Via de la Plata, food options are a bit more limited. Okay, so we're kind of looking at the best option in terms of food availability. But I'll take you through all the different types of food, different budgets, and things like that. If I can remember at the end, we'll talk a little bit about what if you are a vegan or lactose intolerant. Just a couple of words of warning. I don't know if any Spanish people are vegans or lactose intolerant or have an intolerance to anything. They seem to eat everything, and everything seems to have meat in it, but I'll kind of point out a couple of warning signs to look out for. So let's talk about the different eating options. And these sorts of options are available all along the Camino Frances from wherever you start, wherever you stop. So first of all, if you are operating on a very, very tight budget, probably one of the cheapest ways to eat is just to go into the local supermarkets, and you can buy, ready prepared food, tinned food, packet food, or whatever. That's probably going to be one of your cheapest options. The second option up the scale of cost, and this is something that a lot of people do, and in fact, you could argue it's probably going to be cheaper than the first one, and that is to cook your own food. So naturally, you can only do that if you're staying in facilities where they have kitchens and they allow you to use the kitchens. So that's generally albergues. Just be aware that not every albergue provides cooking facilities. Some do. Generally in the guidebooks, they'll tell you whether they do or not. And quite often, I haven't tried this yet myself. I'm a bit of a coward. I tend to stay in private accommodation, but I know on my next Camino, I'm going to be staying in albergues, and one of the things I'm looking forward to is the communal cooking. Apparently this can be a great element of your Camino, where people that you meet along the way, it might be 4 or 5 of you in the albergue in the evening together, and you might buddy up and say, let's go shopping and we'll buy some food and we'll cook together and eat together. And that's an experience I haven't had yet on the Camino, so I'm looking forward to that. So you can buy ready prepared food in the supermarket, in the grocery stores, or you could actually just buy, the raw materials and make the meals, which is a lot of fun because you're going to be with people from all different countries and so on. So those are probably your least cost options. And you're probably wondering, but where can I buy the food? Again, Camino Frances experience only. I'm struggling to think of a village that I passed through where I couldn't have bought food of some sort. Oneos, maybe. I don't remember seeing a shop there, but any village of any size is going to have shops. Just be aware of opening hours. Siesta period, they can be closed in the afternoon. But otherwise, you can generally sort of pick up supplies. So I think the big thing with food is just be flexible. You know, don't sort of set your expectations that every day I'm going to cook or every day I'm going to do this, because maybe you can't. So just be aware of the various options and go with the flow. Okay, so those are the two cheaper options. Now let's move into the buying prepared food. Probably one of the cheaper ways to do that is just to buy snacks. And snacks come in various forms in Spain. You know, we might call them snacks. Tapas, you've probably heard of. In Navarra, of course, it's called Pintxos, around sort of Pamplona and that sort of area. But this is basically finger food that you have with a drink in a bar. But you can make a meal of tapas or Pintxos, whichever part of the country you're in. And let's have a look at some examples of snacks. They're not necessarily all Pintxos or tapas, but I've got a screen down here, so I'm going to try and keep everything in sync so that we can do the editing. So picture number one, we have some tortilla. I love tortilla. That's a great snack to have while you're walking. Sometimes I'd have tortilla for lunch or for second breakfast. That's very much a Camino thing. And it's basically kind of a Spanish omelette. It's made out of predominantly eggs and bread, eggs, potato, onion. Usually comes with a bit of bread, with a coffee, you know, it's a lovely snack. And you'll find this sitting on the bar in most cafes and bars. So tortilla, very, very nice. So that's our snack number one. Now on number two, I'm going to point out some foods that you do have to try. This is morcilla. And morcilla is, I suppose, similar to black pudding, blood pudding, if you've had something like that. The Burgos morcilla is slightly different. There's slightly different types depending on where you are. The one from Burgos has rice in it. And as you can see on this plate, sorry, I'd eaten half of it before I took the picture. So it's the sort of blood sausage components. I hate to think what that is, but with the rice, some spices. It generally this one came with some red peppers. It generally has a sweet sauce on it, like an apple sauce or something. It is delicious if you love that sort of food. So definitely look out for the morcilla, M-O-R-C-I-L-L-A. Remember, a double L in Spanish is a Y sound, morcilla. So that's really something to look out for. Number three, I can actually remember where all of this food came from. This is in a cafe overlooking the lake in Porto Marin. And here we're starting to look at a combination of different dishes. So you could call this tapas, I guess. So we've got some scallops here, we've got some garlic prawns, and we've got the padron peppers down at the bottom there, those green things. Again, sorry, we dived into them before I took the photograph. But, you know, wonderful food. The garlic prawns are to die for, and dip your bread in them. So all of these things, you know, you'll see in a lot of cafes and bars along the way. If your Spanish is not that great, let's just talk about that for a moment. My Spanish is pretty appalling. I'm not too bad at ordering food, but even now, when I look at a menu, there's probably half the things on the menu I'm not sure what they are, so I kind of have to look them up. It's well worth trying to, if you don't speak any Spanish, you know, try to I guess, learn some common food words like, you know, chicken, fish, things like that. So at least you can help yourself through the menu. So these sorts of things are absolutely delicious. So that was photo number three. Let's just help my editor. Number four, what have we got here? So this is tapas again, and this is in Logroño. I remember this tapas bar. So we've got, what have we got at the top of that? Some squid by the looks of it. And then we've got some fried pork belly, and then we've got the padron peppers again. So if you are passing through Logroño, there is I'll put the name of the street down below if I remember, but there is a particular street in Logroño that is very famous for tapas bars. And it's just phenomenal, the food that you can get there. And basically you wander into the bar, a lot of this food will already be on the counter, you know, under glass, and you can just kind of ask for what you want. Some of these things, perhaps the squid, I'm not sure. Some of the things they'll cook to order, so, you know, you can ask for stuff. Just as a general point, when you're walking, particularly the Camino Francis, don't sort of panic too much about menus and things because very often there's pictures, you can say, I'll have that. So, there's always easy ways around. And something that we often do is we'll kind of look at what other people are eating and you go, can we have that? That looks good. So, don't stress over the language. But this is sort of fairly typical tapas, and that one was in Logroño. Number 5, what have we got here? Okay, pulpo. People rave about pulpo, squid, octopus, sorry. And this is in the most famous octopus bar in Melilla. And apparently the best pulpo comes from Melilla. So that's in the final 100 kilometers of the Camino Frances. My wife loves octopus. I can take it or leave it, to be honest. It kind of tastes like rubber to me. But of course we had to try it, and it comes with a bit of paprika and things like this. So it's something to be tried. The pulpo, the octopus. So you'll see that. So hopefully you're getting the idea is that when you're in cafes and bars, there'll be menus and things, and you can just kind of pick whatever you want off the menu. And you'll find, compared to most countries, I'm not sure obviously where you're from, the food's pretty cheap, very cheap, in fact. We're on number 6 here. This is interesting. This is actually a tuna pie, and this would be in Portamarin. And really nice, just something a little bit different. What you'll find sometimes, particularly if you're walking a really long Camino, you'll find the food gets a little bit samey after a while. And what I mean by that is that, the various places that you're stopping that provide food, they'll kind of provide very similar food to the pilgrims. They're looking for something that's kind of got lots of energy, reasonably nutritious, fairly cheap to produce. And so you tend to see the same things a lot. So I'll give you some ideas in a moment on ways to kind of break out of that sameness a bit. But the tuna tart or tuna pie, very nice. Yeah, it's good. I had that a few times. But, you'll kind of see it a few times. So let's, what we got next? 7. Okay, now on number 7, here we have got Raciones, and I apologize for my pronunciation, please don't crucify me. Raciones and Platos Combinados. What does that mean? It says they're in English, rations and combo plates. Raciones is basically a larger version of tapas. So, tapas is kind of almost finger food. Raciones is a ration of, one thing, but it's a slightly larger portion. So you can order that one thing. The Platos Combinados is basically something with something. It's a combination. So you might have some meat and some French fries or, something like that. So that's a really good option too. Very cost effective. So you're not having to buy a whole meal. You can just pick a particular thing. So on this one, looking at the screen, we've got some, we've got some deep fried squid. We've got some serrano ham. Oh, the ham in Spain, jamón. So it's spelt J-A-M-O-N, but of course the J is an H sound, jamón. Really lovely food. So there we go. That's when you see that, Raciones and Platos Combinados, they're just kind of smaller meals, one plate of something. What have we got on 7A here? I guess you'd call this a Platos Combinados. This is in Zubiri. This is weird, isn't it? This was a meal in 2015 and I can remember where I ate it. And I just felt like some French fries, sausage, egg and chips. It's very British. But they had it in the menu on that corner cafe in Zubiri, and I had a glass of wine with it. So you'll get a lot of fried stuff, fried potatoes of various sorts. But that was something I fancied having that day, and very nice. So you get lots of familiar food. What have we got here on number 8? So this is a bar in Navarrete. And here we can see the tapas laid out on the bar top. So you'd wander in there and you get your drink, and so one of them, one of them, one of them. And they're not particularly expensive. I'm just looking to see if there's any prices. They've got the wine prices up there. Like, is that? Yeah, that's wine prices. So like €1.50 for a glass of wine. Wish it was that cheap here in Australia. So that's a very typical sight in a bar that's serving tapas. Excuse me, my brain's a bit muddled. I've had flu for the last few days, so excuse me while I have my honey and lemon tea. Okay, so moving on to photo 9. So we're still on the sort of third level. Remember, we had buy the prepared food in a grocery, cook your own food. We're still on sort of snacks and tapas. This is a place in the main square in Pamplona, and this time we've got a Degustacion de Pintxos. De Pintxos, that's probably awful pronunciation. I just wanted to try this. So a degustation menu, if you've never had a degustation menu, is basically a selection of lots of different things. So a degustation of Pintxos is a whole bunch of different Pintxos. So I didn't know what was going to turn up, but I was very pleasantly surprised because this is what came. And I ordered a glass of wine to go with it. So there's 5 or 6 different Pintxos on there. Is Pintxos singular or plural? I'm not sure. Really interesting food. That was a full meal, a big meal. So I had to try that. It was really, really yummy. So that's 9A. Now on number 10, what have we got here? So this is in Lavacolla on my last day into Santiago in 2015. I'm like a dog with food. I can remember every meal I've had. And this is a ham and cheese bocadillo. A bocadillo is basically a bread roll, and you get all kinds of stuff in it. So I think this was lunch on the way into Santiago, having a bocadillo and a coffee. Cafe, if you're I was going to say lots of different coffees in Spain. There isn't. I mean, I come from a country of coffee nuts in Australia. You go into a cafe here, there'll be 20 different types of coffee that you can order. Piccolo, flat white, long black, all sorts of things. In Spain, it's a little bit more limited, but if you want a milky coffee, a café con leche, cafe with milk, café con leche, which is what I'm having there. They make beautiful milky coffee. So there we have the bocadillo. That's a Pilgrim favourite, I think, for lunches. Really nice Spanish bread. You'll notice there's lots and lots of calories in this food. That's why I struggle to lose weight on a Camino. But, it's kind of, you fool yourself that you're walking it off. Okay, what have we got on number 12? So this, I almost couldn't remember where that is. It's Punta Lorena. And we've got a cafe there with some great fresh bread. So, you might want to just buy some bread and cheese or something. We've got a few tapas on the bar. So very typical as you're coming into village cafes and things, you might see something like that. Okay, on number 13A, one of the things on Camino, particularly the Camino Frances, that people crave is fruit and vegetables. So a lot of the cheaper Pilgrim meals, they're pretty basic. They're going to have some carbohydrate. They'll have a bit of protein. They don't have a lot of vegetables. So occasionally you'll get a small salad as an entree, as a first course, which people tend to dive into. This salad was actually in the Don Suero Hotel on the left-hand side of the bridge in Hospital de Ubigo, which is just outside of Leon, west of Leon. And I ordered this salad. This is one of the most tasty salads I have ever had. And when Pat, my wife, walked with me 3 years later, we went in there and we had the same salad. And now we make it at home. Just look at that salad for a minute. I mean, that is just amazing. It's got, it's got everything you could think of in there. I don't think there's any protein in it. So just a word of warning for vegetarians, very often they'll put tuna into salads. Tuna's kind of considered a vegetable, I think. So just, be warned. So the best salad I've ever had on Camino in Hospital de Ubigo. This is number 13. Okay, this is in Los Arcos, and it's the main square in Los Arcos. And I've got this picture here just to show you again that, ordering food can be quite simple. Because we've got menu boards outside the cafe. To the right of this picture, there's 2 or 3 cafes on the side there. And I'll just draw your attention to that first sign because that is pizzas. Now, someone told me that if you see one of these signs outside a cafe advertising pizzas, don't eat the pizza because they're made by this huge pizza chain. They're delivered frozen, and all the cafes do is warm them up. I don't know if that's true or not. I've only had one bad pizza of this type, and that was in Melita. Generally, what am I saying with pizza? This is paella. Why am I calling this pizza? Sorry, it's paella, which In Spanish, double L would be pronounced paella. So when you see these menu boards with paella, it's supposedly mass-produced frozen stuff. All the ones that I've had were prepared really nicely, and I enjoyed them. And you get this big paella all for yourself, and I find it's a nice change from some of the other food that you come across. So yeah, that's an easy meal to order, and generally pretty good. I've only ever had one bad one. We're now on 13B. Oh, this is in Navarrete, that same bar where we saw the tapas, and they had homemade paella on the bar. A huge dish, and it was a chicken paella, and so we each had a plate of that. I was there with Pat, and that was really nice. Homemade paella. I've had the homemade one a few times. There's a cafe in Arzua, which has a massive paella pan out the front of it, which does a nice one as well. But you will come across paella. The purists will say that paella really comes from, I think it's the southeast part of Spain, on the coast, and that's kind of where it's from. I've had great paella all over Spain, in Madrid, and all along the Camino. It was really nice. So always look out for the paella. That's a good option. What are we looking at here? 13C. That's another paella. Oh, where's that one? Where's that one? I think that might be in Madrid. But that's probably not a packet one. No, in fact, that's in Los Arcos. So it might be one of those packet ones. Really tasty, though. What have we got next? 14. Okay, so when you're looking at the menus, as I mentioned, it's handy to know a few Spanish food words. I was getting into trouble with my wife, Pat, occasionally on Camino when I couldn't translate the menu. Oh, you were supposed to have studied Spanish. Well, I had 6 lessons. So I can generally make out about half of the menu. Very often you'll find a menu like this one, which is in Spanish and English. So let's have a look at this one. So this is the Raciones, the rations, which is like a big tapas. It's a single thing on a plate. So what have we got here? We've got croquetas, which is really nice. It's like sort of mashed potato, which is fried in breadcrumbs. We've got chicken wings, we've got the squid, sauza, I don't know what that is. Maybe someone can tell us down below. Padron peppers. Oh, I love the padron peppers. Green peppers fried with a bit of salt on them. We've got sausages, we've got tortilla, a French tortilla. So I guess that's a French omelette. Steamed mussels. Wow. This was in, pretty sure this one is in Portomarin as well. Steamed mussels. I miss those. I love steamed mussels. So that's a fairly typical Raciones menu. So again, not too difficult to translate. This is a few years old. You can see the prices on it. We've got 5, 6, up to 8 euros, which is not too bad, I don't think. Now we're moving on to, with number 15, we're moving into the next level. So we've had just buy food that you can eat straight away out of a grocery. Number 2 was cook your own food. Number 3 was the sort of tapas and raciones and snacky stuff. Now we're getting into the actual menus. And the first one we're going to have a look at is the Pilgrim Menu. This is probably, I don't know, pick a number, maybe half the pilgrims walking the Camino Frances eat these. It's just very easy. It's pretty cost effective. And generally a Pilgrim Menu is 3 courses and usually including a drink. Now the funny thing is you'll get water or wine included. If you want something like Coca-Cola, you probably pay extra. Remember, they do make wine in Spain, so it's pretty cheap. So this one is actually in a place in Fontibadon, which is between Astorga and Molina Seca. And it's a little bit hard to read, but it is in English. So this is a fairly typical Pilgrim menu. As the first course, we've got garlic soup, noodle soup, and lentil. It says just lentils, but that's a lentil soup. For the next one, we've got stewed chicken. I think that's supposed to be something fillet. Oh, fish fillet, and we've got beef stew. I think we've had all of those on our various Caminos. Really nice food. And then the dessert is generally something pretty simple. So on this one, you've got ice cream, yogurt, or rice. So it'll be like a milky rice. And then you get wine or water. And that's 9 euros. Now that was a few years ago. For the Pilgrim menus, you're probably still going to get them 11, 12, I would think. but the Pilgrim menus are great value. So you're getting a 3-course meal with wine or water. You'll generally get bread with it. It's a big meal. So, you know, you really don't need much for breakfast. The Spanish don't eat much for breakfast anyway. You might have, you know, your coffee and tortilla during the day or a little snack. The Pilgrim menu in the evening is really going to fill you up. So they are very, very good value. The only thing is they do get a bit samey. So again, they're trying to cook to a budget, so you generally get the same sorts of food. So that was number 15. Number 16, here's another. Where is this one? Oh dear, I can't remember where this one is. So this is in English as well, a Pilgrim's menu. This is €9.95. So the first courses, we've got minestrone soup, fish soup, spaghetti bolognese. We've got green salad and Russian salad. Salad! Grab it when you can. And the second one, we've got pork chops, lots of pork in Spain. Pork chops with chips. We've got a Spanish omelette. We've got sausages, meatballs, beefsteak, trout. Oh, I'd go for that. Hake. So that's quite good options there. If you're a vegetarian, you'd struggle. There's no vegetarian second plate or main course. You'd be having the green salad for the first course, I guess. And then on the desserts, we've got the cream caramel, the rice, the yogurt, you know, fresh fruit. That's kind of fairly typical. And does it say that you get wine? It says you'll get bread, mineral water, and wine. Soft drink not included. There you go. That's expensive. So again, another fairly typical Pilgrim menu. So at this time, they're all about $10. So I'm sure they might be 11 or 12 by now. But yeah, pretty good, pretty good. I would eat Pilgrim menus probably 50% of the time, 50, 60% of the time. So on a 40-day Camino, I walk pretty slow. On a 40-day Camino Francis from Saint-Jean, I'm going to have 20, 25 of these. Here's another one for €10. So again, just looking at a few of these to show you the variations. We've got mixed diced vegetables and a mixed salad and asparagus. Wow, we've got vegetables. This one, not sure where this one is actually. And then we've got pork loin, veal, croquettes, chicken fillet, hake, and then pretty much the same desserts, haven't we? So you kind of get the idea. When you've been eating these for 2 weeks, you might want to try something a bit different. Oh, and here's another one. This one, I think, is in Castro Jerez. So the first courses, we've got croquettes, we've got spaghetti bolognese, we've got a cheese. Oh no, it must be Arzua, because we've got an Arzuan cheese salad. Something with fried eggs. Not sure what that is. And then we've got a couple of salads, and then we've got the secundos, the main course. We've got lasagna and a few different options. So the Pilgrim menus aren't exactly the same, but you'll start to find that probably half the content of the menu is the same as everywhere else. Oh, and on this one, we can actually get a half menu as well. I've never actually tried that, but basically what that means is you could have first and second course, second and third, first and third. So if you don't feel up to eating a Pilgrim menu, which is, like I say, quite a large meal, you could have a half menu. If it doesn't say that on the menu, do ask. You'll just have to learn the Spanish for, can I have a half menu? And I'm sure you can do it, if your Spanish is not good. With sign language, I'll often sort of go that and that. But that's a good idea. So you can have a half menu. I mean, that's a dinner for €7. That's pretty good, isn't it? So we are now moving on to slide 19. The soups along the Camino are really nice. I'm not sure what this one is. It looks like it's got meat and vegetable in it. That could be part of a Pilgrim menu, or it might be something separate. It looks like it's part of the menu. It's got some spaghetti next to it. The soups can be really, really delicious. So the lentil soup, garlic soups. One to look out for is, so soups are caldo Galicia, the Galician soup, which people rave about. To me, it tastes like warm dishwater with a few lettuce leaves in it. I'm being a bit unkind. It's probably like the Spanish version of miso soup. So it's not a heavy, bulky soup, but it's got some really sort of nice veggies and stuff in it. So look out for the soups. They're always good. Here we've got another soup on 20. This looks like it's in Fonsobidon again, and it looks like the lentil soup. So yeah, some of those thick soups are really good. Let's get on to have a look at some of the main courses on Pilgrim menus, and here we're on 21. This is fish, chips and a salad, and that is in a hotel in Fromista, I seem to recall. Yeah, not bad, but you know, you start to see the quality of the food. It's pretty basic, so you know, some fried fish, some fried potato, and a little bit of lettuce and onion and tomato. It's fine, but you know, if you're a bit of a foodie, you're not going to get gourmet food where pilgrims eat. It's basic, wholesome food. Moving on to 22, yeah, I mean, this is pork and salad. What do you get? You get some chunks of pork and a salad. But I tell you what, at the end of the day, everything tastes good. I have only, in 3 Caminos, I've only had one meal that I couldn't finish, and that was just past, where was it? It'll come to me in a minute. But in a small hostel, and it was basically half warmed up tin of spaghetti, which was horrible. We didn't finish it. So yeah, that's the only time I've had a bad meal, to be honest. The food is generally very good. The food I would rate as okay, generally. Maybe 1 in 2, 1 in 3 meals, you'll get one that's really good. And generally on a Camino from Saint-Jean, I'll probably have 3 or 4 memorable meals, which were really great. And some of those are sometimes pilgrim menus. Okay, here we've got a happy pilgrim having that soup and the spaghetti. Where are we up to? Number 23, yep. This is typical of the desserts, so this is like a custard thing. We're on slide 24. You know, I mentioned you get rice pudding, custards, ice cream, stuff like that. And oh, now we're going to come on to breakfast. Sorry, before we talk about breakfast, we've talked about pilgrim menus. Something you do need to be aware of is that there is a next level up from pilgrim menus. So if pilgrim menus are 10, 11, 12 euros, for 2 or 3 euros more, you should look out for the Menú del Día, the menu of the day, the Menú del Día. They are terrific. It was only on my 2nd or 3rd Camino that I cottoned onto these. You do have to be aware of when they are served. It's generally very often a lunch, which may finish at 3 o'clock, so depending on your sort of walking schedule. But do try a Menú del Día. For 2 or 3 euros more, the lift in quality from the Pilgrim's menu is sensational. I mean, if I had to sort of quantify it, I'd say that in general terms, a Menú del Día is close to twice as good as a Pilgrim menu. So do try one now and again if you can. We had a terrific one last time in Roncesvalles, so just down off the Pyrenees. We were staying in the, it's not actually a hotel, I forget what they call it, just next to the albergue. And I think it was the Posada, or one of the sort of bars, cafes just outside, had the Menú del Día in their back dining room. Now, the first time I went there, I never even realised. I just sat in the bar and had a snack. If I had known through the sort of swing doors, there was a dining room and all the locals were in there eating the Menú del Día. So, you know, it's very much a thing that the locals go for, and the quality is just way better. So if you want to spoil yourself now and again, have a Menú del Día. The other element that we haven't got to, of course, is that you can go another notch again, of course, particularly in the bigger towns. You know, you'll find very nice restaurants with very good food. But, you know, if you want to, if you've got the budget, that's fine. But we're really just talking about the general options here for pilgrims. Now let's talk about breakfast. So the Spanish are not big on breakfast. I realise that. And you will generally, this is probably quite a good breakfast. This I think was in a Casa Rural, a bed and breakfast. So I've got some toast, some jam, I've got a little cake and a croissant by the looks of it, and a cup of coffee. You know, that's pretty good. If you are getting breakfast provided, it may be just that little cake and a packet and a coffee, if you're lucky. You know, it could be an orange juice. I've been in a place where, you know, there was some orange juice was left out and lots of those little cakes. So you had a little cake and some orange juice. But do not fear, because particularly on the Camino Frances, a couple of hours up the road, you'll be ready for second breakfast, and you'll find some tortilla or something like that on one of the villages that you pass through. But this will be a very typical sort of basic breakfast if you're staying somewhere. That's 25, 26. This one's a little bit more upmarket because we've actually got some ham and cheese. And I don't remember where that is. Then on 27, now we're talking. I think this was on my first Camino, and I actually worked out how to order bacon and eggs. Now, I like to have a proper breakfast. People tell me, those who are far more experienced than I, that in most cafes and bars, if you want to order a breakfast, you can get one. And obviously if they're not too busy and the staff have the time to go back in the kitchen. So I made sure on my second and third Caminos that I knew how to order a decent breakfast. So let me see if I can remember how to do it, and people are going to laugh at my Spanish. But remember that eggs are huevos, so that would be huevos fritos, fried eggs. Bacon, so my Spanish teacher tells me, is the same, bacon. And toast is tostada. So that would be huevos fritos, dos, bacon y tostada, por favor. Oh, y una café con leche. There we go, because I've got the coffee as well. So that was an awful attempt at ordering that in Spanish, but it's well worth having a few sort of phrases like that you can just trot off. If there are particular things you like to order in cafes, just kind of learn how to say them. Because in a lot of the areas, as you get closer to Santiago, and particularly in the last 100 kilometres or so, a lot of people understand English because they just get so many more pilgrims there. In some of the country areas and things, they might not much. So it's handy if you can order your favourite thing. Here's another one. I call this the ultimate pilgrim's breakfast because we've got bacon and eggs with ibuprofen, Camino Smarties, or Pilgrim Smarties as people call them. So yeah, having that breakfast was awesome. Okay, so that brings us to the end of the slides, and I've got a couple of notes up here to remind me of things. So what should you try while you're in Spain walking the Camino? What are some of the dishes that you tried? So I mentioned the morcilla. You've definitely got to try the different tapas or pinchos. There is a subtle difference depending on where you are. The lamb, I didn't have any pictures of the lamb, but I've had the Spanish slow roast lamb a few times on Camino. It is delicious. If you're a meat eater, there's a very famous place called the Azofra in Burgos. And that is actually, I'm going to digress here, but if you've watched the movie The Way, and the scene where they're going to the gypsy party at night and there's a bonfire, right opposite where they filmed that is the Hotel Azofra, and it's very famous for its roast lamb. So it's about a k's walk out of the centre of Burgos. If you had the cathedral to your back, you'd go through the archway, across the river, turn right. It's about a k down there, and then it's a couple of hundred metres up a side street. But Hotel Azofra, you do have to book. It's very popular. So the Spanish roast lamb, got to try it. I mean, it's in that place, they cook it in a pizza oven, and it's cooked for hours and hours and hours, and it just falls to bits. Lovely, lovely. I mentioned the caldo Galicia, the Galician soup, lots of really good soups. Yeah, look, you'll find some nice food. It's going to be rare that you get something that's really not that good. The food is okay all of the way. Occasionally it's really good. So all I've attempted to do there is to kind of show you some of the food that's available. So just to recap, if you're on a really tight budget, you can buy ready-to-eat stuff in the little grocery stores, bread and cheese and things like that. Probably for a similar price, you could buy the ingredients and cook if albergues have cooking facilities, and you could do that with a group to spread the cost. You've then got the ability to order individual plates of things, which is the Raciones, which is like a big tapas, or the Platos Combinados, which might be, some meat and some French fries, that kind of thing. You've then got, the common meal, evening meal, I guess, for pilgrims, which is the Pilgrim Menu. You can get those at lunchtime as well. I have on occasion had one for lunch and one for dinner. Oh, that's embarrassing. But they're great value, 10 or 11 euros, 3 courses with a glass of wine. For €2 or €3 more, the Menú del Día, definitely try one of those. It is really a couple of notches up in terms of quality. And then, of course, you will come across some upmarket places in the larger towns. And breakfast, if you're staying in albergues and things like that, occasionally you'll find some that provide breakfast. Otherwise, it's on the road, and you'll pick up something at the next village. There we go. So that just gives you a little bit of an insight. You're not going to starve. There are plenty of places to eat, good quality food, wholesome food, lots of it, lots of interesting things to try. Do try and learn a little bit of Spanish in terms of foods, so that pollo for chicken and lomo is pork, so that you can recognize some items on the menu. Maybe be adventurous and kind of ask the staff in the cafe or whatever, you pick for me, something like that. That can be fun. But there we go. It'll give you an insight, particularly for new pilgrims, kind of what's the kind of food that you're going to come across. Like I say, if you're vegetarian, vegan, it gets a little bit harder in Spain because there's a lot of meat product, not a lot of stuff for vegetarians. So you're probably going to supplement, you'll find salads and things at the cafes. Just be aware that some may have tuna on them. That's a dressing, not fish. And you might have to supplement from grocery stores and things, so whatever you prefer to eat. But there we go. Sorry this was such a long video. I had to stop halfway through because we ran out of time, so I don't know how long this has gone for, but hopefully there'll be people watching this who've also got food tips for the Camino. So do comment down below, and if you've managed to stay till the end, well done. And if you have any questions regarding food, do put them down below. If you've enjoyed this video and you're not yet subscribed, hit the subscribe button, and make sure you hit that bell as well, and that way you're notified every time we have a new video coming out. And I try to get them out every week on a Tuesday. I might be a day late this week because of my flu. So thanks for watching. See you next time.